Good morning, everyone. Dave Bush here with Kansas Sports HQ in the studio today for episode 24. We have the Park City Rangers featuring their new head coach, Andrew Chartrand. He'll be joining us soon. But first, as always, Sean Cutler, Sheldon Howell. How are you guys this morning?
Good
Better
morning.
than I deserve.
Good morning. Got a good lift in this morning. Alone,
Oh, okay.
by myself, in the gym with no safety spotters.
It's on you, man.
You know,
I mean, I did get here at 8.
it's good. Had a nice Divorced Dads playlist playing, old school rock. Just in a beautiful
What?
zone down there, just moving some weight.
Divorced Dad's playlist. Where was what?
We
What?
found that when we were working in the ceiling one time. It's just like a bunch
okay.
of
It's like 2000s alt rock, basically.
slow
okay.
alt rock
Yeah.
that just like makes you want to lift something real
Creed.
heavy.
I got you.
Creed and Nickelback, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Good
A
stuff.
lot of the.
It's a good morning. Good
Yeah,
morning.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Full
dude.
beat.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
A little bit of soul behind the lift.
Back
Yeah.
when music was real.
Yeah, that's right.
When they actually had to play a real instrument and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now
Didn't
everything's
have
synthesized.
one of those
or
mixing
whatnot.
boards.
No.
Yeah.
They had to vocalize together.
So stuff going on around town. You have Derby visiting Manhattan. Hopefully that's a electric environment. And then Capon going somewhere else. I didn't look that up because they've just been blowing people out. I don't even know if I want to look up who they're playing.
I know Andale's got Rock Creek, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Yeah.
where they're located.
That's the 6A side of things, and
Yes, they're-
the teams around the area
Yeah,
that
what's Rock Creek? You ever heard of
That's
that?
where they're located.
I mean, is that the name of the place or the school?
Rock Creek School. Who knows? Maybe it's a
So,
rural
Someone
area
from Rock
school.
Creek that tunes into
Yeah.
this, please reach out to us. We have questions.
Comment
Yeah.
below, even though we're not live.
You know, the one thing I wanted to start doing is saying, you know, if you're following along with us, just give us a like, give us a share, say some things. If you know anyone from Kansas in this area of Wichita, the greater Wichita area, you know, and you guys want to talk, you know, what you've gone through as a athlete and whatnot, reach out. We'd love to get you on and talk to you guys. I mean, it's fun for us, and we'll do our due diligence to figure out who you might be and how we can bring some light to your adventure in life.
That's right.
So
I'm excited about today, though. Chartrand is he's actually not from the area, but he's been in the area for a long time, coaching here, played here, been a part of this community for a while, and now gets the opportunity just, you know, through a bunch of different timing things that just kind of fell into his lap to get his opportunity to kind of be a head coach and do some stuff, which we'll let him tell the stories. But yeah, it's pretty cool. He's a electric dude, like a lot of energy, high energy guy. So I'm excited about that. He's
so
He's
much
gonna-
energy.
yeah, he's gonna be good for the area, good for the game, good for just the stuff that we got going on, and so I mean for the guys that he's gonna be, you know, coaching with and coaching around, it should be a lot of fun. But yeah, we'll let him.
I mean,
kinda
we went to
tell
that
us.
trunk or treat for his first event, and he was just
Oh, he's a wiry bunny, man.
He was having a great time, and then we decided to let people try on the mascot head,
Yeah,
and that was awesome too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I've ever ran out of candy like that before.
I know I had to go get extra.
Yeah,
but-
so did he.
yeah.
I mean, my 1,500 pieces of candy that I brought out there were gone within 20 minutes. So, you know, that community does show
Sticky
up
fingers.
and they do.
It was a weird setup this year with how they did it, because they did it inside because they thought it was going to be bad weather, and it was tight. Like
Yeah.
it's like 1,000 people walking through the office, basically.
I mean,
just in a
more
big circle.
people were outside than
Yeah.
there were inside, and the line went from the doors all the way to like the fire station or whatever's to the west of that area, and we just kept peeping outside. More candy.
Yeah.
More candy.
Packed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
shout out to Park City. They do a good job at a lot of different things. Hopefully we can get a baseball field built or remodeled or something so we can play in Park City here relatively soon. That would be nice.
Yeah, why don't you give a little background on Park City before Chartrand jumps on? We got a few minutes before he'll be ready.
background on the city? I don't. What do you mean?
On the team.
And the Rangers.
Oh, on the Rangers?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Well, Park City was. It was. Well, we were talking about the city, but Park City was a team that when I first got involved, the Rangers kind of came with the acquisition of the league. So they were a team that was already established. They're the longest tenured team in the KCLB. They've been around, I believe, since like the late 90s. So 99, I think, is like the first year that they played, something like that, 98, 99. So I don't know, however many years that is, quite a bit. And so it's kind of cool having something that's been around for that long kind of under our umbrella. Now it's changed hands a bunch of different times in that process and kind of gone through some revamp and some different things, as most things do. But the city of Park City, it's an up and down story. And honestly, it's kind of wild watching how this whole ballpark saga is falling out or falling through or whatever you want to word it as right now in Park City, because it's like they've already tried to do this once and kind of the same thing happened. I think there's a little bit more support now, and I'm hopeful that things get done. And this is just my version of the history because I'm sure that there's multiple versions of this, just what I've been told. But there's the guy who ran the team beforehand. He kind of went to Park City and basically, went there and told them like, hey, I have this partner and I have some money and we need you guys to kind of back our idea of this project of building a baseball field here so we can play. And I don't know the odds and ends. I don't know what he asked for. I don't know any of that stuff. But the city council, the people that are there now, were still around back then, and they told me it was relatively substantial, especially at that time because it's been a little bit. And they funded the Park City Rangers back then for like 5-6 years with a decent amount of like chunk of change. And the whole idea was that they were going to put this money into a field, and they were going to be building this field so that way it could be a local thing, kind of like what we do in all the other places. And well, that project never really came to fruition. He had like a paving company, I think is what it was, that was supposed to be like the one that was, I don't know, getting the rights to the grounds and like doing all the stuff and pulling the permits and all the jazz, and that didn't happen. And so they ended up with not a field and not a project, and the city was just kind of out all the money that they had like pumped into the team. And then that guy essentially was through the grapevine, I don't know if it changed hands at one point, but it ended up with Brian and so then I went back to Park City, kind of similar story like when we were starting Valley Center. I came and like just went to the city council, kind of started bumping some shoulders with some people and talking to them, and as I was chatting with them and stuff, they just kind of asked them like, "Hey man, is there a way that we can you know, get something going again? Can we garnish some support? Is there things that we can do to get some momentum?" And just begged them to take a chance on me, and they did. And so then the rest has kind of been history from there, and things have been going pretty good. And so shout out to the city members that are there right now because they've been supporting us. I think they really they bought into the fact that we were still flying the Park City flag. We always wanted to be Park City. We want to be in Park City, and we want to be a part of that community. So it's been a fun time. But what up, Mr. Chartrand? How are you?
Good. How are you guys? You guys hear me okay over there?
Yeah, not too bad.
How are you guys?
We're good, man.
We're just, discussing the formation of the Park City Rangers and how long they've been around.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
giving a little
Awesome.
give a little background, a little bit of history, kind of what we're doing. Park City is it's kind of a unique team because since I've been involved with Park City, we've never played in Park City. We've gotten
Yeah.
close. We played at Robertson Field, which was attached to the Light Prep Academy there. Played there for pretty much the entire time that we started until we got in with City of Wichita and moved to the City of Wichita field. So, our goal is hopefully to be able to, play in Park City at some point in time. And we were just kind of talking about that project that they got going on there, which I'm sure we'll dip into a little bit. But yeah, but thanks for hopping on with us, man. I'm excited that, some people are going to get to know you a little bit and be able to kind of learn about some of the future plans with the Park City Rangers. I will preface, obviously, this is a little bit of a changing of the mantle because we've had Randy, who's been with us for the past 4 years. And, so he's and he's still around. He's obviously coaching in the area and still involved. Great guy. He's helped us and elevated this program to be what it is right now. And so cannot thank him enough. And,
Yep.
he's obviously got life and family and all kinds of different things happening, but he's definitely still going to find his way to be involved and support the team and then also support the league, and still be around. So just want to make sure we tip our cap to him for all of his hard work and everything that
Absolutely.
he did to kind of provide us with the opportunity to keep it going and keep things happening. So shout out to him for that. But Andrew, go ahead and kind of introduce yourself a little bit. Tell the people that might be tuning in, where you're from, a little bit
Yeah.
of your history, your playing history, coaching history. Just kind of tap into that a
Absolutely.
little bit.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I just want to piggyback kind of on the thing with Randy. He has done a great job over the last 5, 6 years of kind of getting this thing rolling. And I'm super thankful, my family is as well, for the opportunity to kind of keep it going, keep progressing as we move into the Park City area. And that's kind of where I want to start. So a little bit about me. My name is Andrew Chartrand. I'm from the West Coast originally. I was born and raised in Seattle, Washington. I spent my first 18 years there and then ended up playing junior college baseball out in out in Arizona. Central Arizona College is where I went to school there for 2 years before then transferring to Friends University here in Kansas. I'm a West Coast kid, born and raised. I got the long hair to prove it. I'm kind of ponytail guy, West Coast vibes. That's what I love. But I do, in fact, love the Midwest. I was introduced to the love of my life, my wife, and we now have 2 children. And we have recently moved back about 2 years ago to the Wichita greater area. 6 months ago, we were fortunate enough to be able to buy a house in Park City. So with us kind of establishing, we have 2 children now. I've got a 3-year-old girl. Her name is Emerson Marie. She is awesome. Fireworks. Everyone will see her at the field. And then we just brought in Luca Lee here about 2 months ago. So we have a boy and a girl, beautiful, happy, healthy family. It's all fortunate for me. And like I said, we just recently bought a house in Park City. So for me, I played 2 years of junior college baseball out there at the JUCO level, and it's something that I fell in love with. I think that there is a huge area of developmental talent in this country and in small places. I think that Central Arizona, if you look it up on a map, Casa Grande is not the highlight of Arizona, that's for sure. So it's a lot of people that are focused and oriented and just in getting their things done and promoting themselves. And that's kind of what the junior college atmosphere gave me. It gave me a place to get on my feet as an adult, introduce myself to hard work ethic and what routine and construction can look like. I've kind of been able to blossom myself around that my entire life. That's what I've been raised on. That's what my parents taught me is if you have your mind set, you can go and do it. So I at a young age, I was like, man, I want to live on my own. I kind of want to do this myself. So I left at 18 in Seattle and I haven't been back since. I'm now 28 years old. And being in junior college and now moving over to Wichita, I kind of got the introductory to the Midwest. And it's something that I fell in love with. Just a different pace of life, something that is more unique than what I see on the West Coast. Maybe a little slower is a good adjective or a good way I like to put it. A lot more focus on family, a lot more focus on tradition. And it's something that I have fallen in love with. Like I said, with my wife and her family, they're a family of 50, it feels like. And mine is, me and just my sister. So introducing my kids to that kind of stuff, introducing more West Coast kids to the Midwest is really my ultimate goal here. Me buying the house in Park City, it kind of fell into place at the right time. And like I said, I'm just super thankful to get my family and give us the opportunity to not only be around baseball again, but to grow the community here in Park City as well.
Yeah, man. I always call you the West Coast anomaly, because you're the guy that kind of comes from a whole different walk of life, but then
Yeah.
have really integrated well here. And I
Yeah.
had the privilege of watching you play a little bit. I've had the privilege of watching you coach. I've had so I've been around and kind of seen you coming up and the way you handle your business, and so that side of things is. It's fun to watch that develop, right? And it's fun to watch
Absolutely.
that all kind of come together. And then,
Thank you.
talking with you a lot more frequently now and just seeing how things are piecing together. It's a lot of fun. But,
Yeah.
a little bit more of his history, as he was here playing with Friends University, he was a part of the Wellington Heat, which is another KCLB franchise, playing with the Heat, coaching for the Heat, being a part of a little bit of all of the pieces of it. So he has some familiarity and different things that, we kind of do, I guess. But,
Yep.
I guess a question on that, like for you, as now
Yeah.
you're transitioning into, a head role and you're going to get to kind of carry the mantle in that aspect.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that, you've picked up from your playing days and then coaching in summer as well,
Yeah.
that you're going to try and bring into Park City, right? What are those things that, you want
Yeah.
to, kind of showcase a little bit?
Absolutely. For me, what I think is really important and detrimental to these kids is understanding routine and discipline. I don't have them, I don't have the luxury of having these kids like their college coaches do, right? I can't set the standard for their development per se, right? I don't have them 10 months with a fall focused on their development moving into a spring. I've got them for about 45 to 60 days. So what I like to do and what I plan to do as our head coach and kind of with the mantle is to just show them what routines and disciplines look like. I want to give them the ability and the platform to say, hey, with our league, the beauty of the KCLB, what I fell in love with here was that, we're not on a bus for 4 to 6 hours a day traveling to these games. We're not, showing back up to our host families at 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night and then turning around and getting back on a bus. We have 5 to 7 to 8 hours a day where these kids can get in the gym or get opportunity to get a job as well. So they can start to learn the disciplines and realities of what life looks like outside of baseball. Right. A lot of summer coaches, a lot of summer leagues, the focus is solely on either playing or giving the kid freedom to try to develop. I want to kind of find a mix of the middle, right? A platform here at the KCLB that's enough games. 31 games is a great regular season schedule. It offers opportunity for us to have consistent innings so these kids can get live action game experience. But these games don't start till, 6 or 8 o'clock at night. And with that being the case, they've got all day in the morning. Go get a job at our local golf courses, kind of bring that opportunity. That's what I fell in love with here. And that's what I want to continue to piggyback. I want to tie our community in here too, as well. That's something that I fell in love with here as a player in the KCLB. Something that I look back on and reflect a lot is when the NBC tournament was active, right? This community here in this area, there's a great outpour into baseball, right? There's an older generation that loves traditional baseball and they love good players, right? That NBC tournament has hosted some great names over the years. And my goal is to give coaches another area, or I guess another place in the country, to still feel comfortable and confident that they're sending their players for future development. So what I'm trying to do is tie the community in, get more outreach to the businesses that are around. I want to bring content to it as well. That's a really big goal of mine. I've seen in the last 2-3 years what has become really successful and popular with kids is the avenues of social media, how Twitter, how Instagram, X, whatever it is now, is avenuing and platforming, giving these kids another springboard to find eyes, give coaches eyes and platforms. So I'm looking to bring in social media content development as well as the community just to all tie it together, make this kind of work in unison as a flowing, able body. I think these local teams around here in the KCLB, we live in outskirts of Wichita where there's a lot of good community and tradition and family focus. And I really want to work on bringing that development into my players, giving those guys that do come from out of state the opportunity to be hosted by somebody here, learn the Midwest traditions, because that's something that changed my life. Right. So for me as a player, the things that I learned was that the consistency of playing 31 games is true development option, right? Is true development opportunity. And there are players at the junior college level. There are players at the NAI, the Division II, the Division I level even, that are looking for these places. And I want to give them and their coaches a platform to say, hey, Coach Chartrand, we're hoping that we can send 8 to 10 guys a summer, make this just kind of an operating wheel, make it successful for everybody, set the routines and disciplines so that all our players know the standard and then move forward accordingly.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a lot right there, but it all sounds really good. I think it's from every single avenue you're getting after it. So stylistically on the baseball field, I've known a lot of California guys. I played with a couple in college, and then I've coached with one as well. They say baseball's a little bit different on the West Coast. Why don't you kind of put a light on that and kind of as you played obviously on the West Coast and here, so kind of give us an example of that.
Yes, absolutely. I look at it as a perspective, kind of the easiest one to look at is college football. I kind of like to use that as my perspective, right? If you look at the guys here in the Midwest, it's a different style of baseball, right? We got bigger boys, we got bigger mindsets, right? We got power potential and the wind and all that plays in differently here. On the West Coast, we've got kids that look a lot more like me. We're 5'6", 5'7", 135 pounds and are running faster than our hair can blow in the wind. So it's just a different style of the game, like you're saying. Up in Seattle, I won't lie to you, 85% of us, it was an ongoing joke forever. Every one of us can hit. That's something we can do because it rains for 10 months of the year. You put us on a natural field, boy, oh boy, do we have some troubles, though. Let me tell you what. So it's just kind of the perspective of from there down to California into Arizona. Into California and Arizona, you have the beauty of playing year round, right? And that's the difference, is the evolution of the game at a year round perspective in comparison to having it for 3 to 5 months here is the biggest difference that I see. When kids have in October, November, December, it's 75 degrees. Their opportunity to be seen, their platforms, is a little bit more advanced. So what I see actually isn't a necessary change in where the talent is, right? I love to compare, the Cowleys, the Johnson counties to those over on the West Coast in the CCL or the ACCAC. I don't think that they're, pound for pound, the games are going to end up well. I think the difference is in the opportunity and the platforms available for the kids in the Midwest to be seen. And that's why my focus and my attention has been to try to bring content development and community development to get more eyes on the kids. The perfect games, there's a lot more tournaments being hosted in in the Californias, in the Arizonas, in the Washingtons than there are in the Kansases, the Nebraskas, the Iowas. So
Yeah,
for
that's
me,
really interesting.
For me, what I think is, pound for pound, you're right. You go out here, y'all eat better. That's the truth, right? You guys are fed better. You got more home-fed meals, right, than what I'm used to seeing on the West Coast. But the talent is there on both aspects. The avenues that I think are vastly different is the exposure. There's kids that, back home that I'm hearing from that are 10, 11, 12, talking to junior colleges. I've never once heard that here. I've heard 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are still looking for opportunity here. Right? Because they just don't have the avenues. Not as many coaches are showing up or assistant coaches are here. So that's the thing that has kind of been fascinating and the thing that I've seen since coming here in 2017. It's almost as if, I got a lot of friends that coach in the West Coast League. I'm fortunate enough, I played there before. I've been around that area. So talking to them, they're telling me, hey, this is where we're at with content development. We've got microphones in the Doug X, Y, and Z. And they're like, well, all it's doing, it's not about the what we're saying, but it's about giving these kids the avenue to have coaches on the East Coast say, hey, that kid has the projectables. Or, hey, I saw that kid swing and I like him. Or I like his mentality around the community. Whatever it may be, it's just about avenues to promote. And that's what I think is the biggest difference that I see from West Coast to here.
Yeah, and I think it's funny you point that out too, because in the when they get to college and the pros, it almost gets flipped because obviously with time zones and how people consume sports, you know, they don't see as much of the West Coast stuff because Midwest and East Coast already in bed by the time they're playing. But then you point out because of the weather year round and everything, and when they're younger, the Floridas and the Texas and the Arizonas and the Californias and the Seattles and the Washingtons, they get a little bit more, maybe not Washington, that's pretty north, but they get a little bit more exposure when they're younger to be seen, as opposed to the kids out here who, because of the weather and some other factors, don't get that quite the exposure. So that's an interesting point you bring up right there.
I think they played just obviously, like you said, more year round makes a massive difference in that, just because it's more on the forefront of everyone's mind.
If you get outside more. I mean,
exactly.
They're playing year round here, but the 3 months in the winter, they're inside hitting as opposed to being out. On circuits and showcases. And
Did
stuff.
your guys like in high school? Walk me through your high school season, because we learned about Iowa baseball playing their high school season in the summertime, and Oklahoma, they play their high school baseball season. They have a fall that they start. I mean, they start in like July, I think is what it is.
Yeah, it's a fall league.
Yeah, like what was the high school seasons like on the West Coast?
So for me up in Washington, it was very similar to the school schedule. So we actually played a spring that was true to the spring of the season. So like April through the end of our graduation, we played. We didn't play in the summer. The weather was never that inclement. The biggest difference, though, is that your high school coaches are not allowed to coach you in the summer and the fall. And I know that here and in other places, right, with the lack of availability of coaches, that's different. So for us, our high school was 20 games and that was that. Our high school coaches were not really responsible for the feeding into. And kind of to piggyback on what we were just talking about development and getting eyes and XYZ, there's a lot more opportunity from, the age of 8 on to 17 on the West Coast for these feeder teams, these travel teams that are year long. And the expectation is you go play for them because you have to, because you can't play for your high school team. Like you and your buddies can't team up on the West Coast unless you're playing for somebody else that's the head coach, if that makes any sense. There's a no contact order for your high school coaches, just like there is at the college level for your West Coast players. So that's one of the big things that I know. And also, we were very regional. So that's very competitive on the West Coast based on where you live. So, like, we don't have a lot of kids that get to transfer in the sport of baseball to make teams better. So you live in a region, that's where you go to high school, and then your team plays against. So when I was growing up, it wasn't like there were very many powerhouses in the state that had 4, 5, 6, 8 Division I kids like you'll see elsewhere in the country. We couldn't do that. You couldn't recruit outside. We actually had a school that was doing it for football that they got in quite a bit of trouble when I was going to school up there. So that's the biggest West Coast high school stuff that I remember specifically being different and unique to what I would hear, around the country, like you're saying in Iowa or elsewhere.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's, we could get on a whole tangent about Keisha and all the random nonsense that they impose here in the state of Kansas, but I don't want to do that, so we're not going to. But so walk us through kind of, as you're doing some recruiting, right? So obviously being a head coach of a collegiate team, there's quite a bit of responsibility in the recruiting and reaching out to guys and things like that. And you're new to this, okay? So this is a new process for you. What has that experience kind of been like, right? How has that been going? And then 2, what has kind of surprised you, right? What are some of the things there? Because, I think all of us, we share in similarities of, if somebody presented us with opportunity back when we were trying to play, like we would get excited about it, we would take advantage of it, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe walk through what you've seen that's kind of been surprising, what's been, kind of eye-opening for you in the recruiting trail, because we live in this, portal era of all these moving parts and all these different kids doing different things, and every single one of them thinks they're a NIL athlete now and they deserve this, that, and the other. So walk us through kind of your experience so far with that.
Yes, absolutely. So it's been fun. I'm going to start there. It's absolutely a challenge. A little bit more kind of about me personally. I work from my phone for a living. So I pick up the phone and make sales calls daily. I'm a logistics coordinator. So for me, selling my part is kind of what I'm already good at. And now these kids, like you're saying, there's been a large transition from, like you're saying, the excitement for opportunity, and now them structuring themselves as a business, right? With you guys making money, or there being potential with name, image, likeness, not being, tied to just one division. Every one of these kids now becomes a business. It's like an LLC. So for me, I've had fun. I've had a little bit of challenge in, I think, hey, coach, I'm not ready to make a decision situation. That's been quite eye-opening for me. I don't know what we're waiting for. When I was younger, I was a guy that was, I did want to go where I wanted to go in the country, but that's because I wanted to see it. I was a kid that never wanted to stay put. At 18, I told my parents I wasn't coming home, and it wasn't something negative like I don't love them or don't miss them. It was that I was adamant I wanted to see what this country had to offer. And so, I ended up in California because I turned 21 and wanted to be there. Ended up in Kansas because I was coming to friends. I ended up in Virginia Beach one year because the opportunity presented itself, and I was the kid that was adamant to jump at those and go. I think now there's been a transition, a shift in focus to business. And so these kids are looking to promote themselves almost like a resume is how I have to look at this and how I have to experience this. So, there's obviously going to be leagues that these kids have heard or these kids have opinions on that they think are superior to others. What you define superior as, I think, is up to each player. If you want to sit on a minor league type setting and you want to go do that, I absolutely promote you to do that. But it is November 20th, if I'm correct. So, with the opportunities that present themselves early, I understand. But, these power leagues, our top threes, the Cape, the Northwoods, the ones that people like to talk about, the West Coast, these leagues are 85%, 95% full, waiting for a West Coast kid to now call over at the Division One colleges to say, hey, we don't start until September. Let me come for the second half of your summer so I can rear up and be ready to go. I don't think that kids are taught that. I don't think that kids nowadays, they have the perspective of, if I'm in the Northwoods or I'm in this league, right, it gives me X on my resume. Some coach is going to say, heck yeah, I want to recruit him just because he went there, not because of the kid's character, not because of what he's doing in the classroom, right? And that's what's tough for me, right? As a guy that is, if you look at me on a roster, right, Sheldon, I'm 5'5", 140 pounds. Right. It's not like guys nowadays would be recruiting me off the wall, but I was recruited off the wall because I got everything outside of baseball handled first. My presence was, hey, I'm a 3.9 student. I'm an all academic kid. I don't need that much baseball money because I've set myself up and focused on what I'm trying to do after this. So, my surprises and my instinct of what I'm seeing is how many kids with the portal being accessible aren't understanding that is minimizing their opportunity. And that's kind of the biggest thing. The kids at the high school level used to get recruited to go Division One, right? If you ask a Division One coach today, not one of them is rostering a high school kid any longer, right? And it's nothing to do with the high schools. It's the availability of what's in the portal. When you have a 21-year-old experienced player that can move, you're going to take him every time. It's just the reality, right? These coaches, that's their job. Their business is to win. Right? So the portal is minimizing opportunity, which means that rosters are being filled faster. So with those two as factors, what I'm not understanding is when I'm presenting opportunity, why it's not being taken. But again, that's to each their own. And that's just in these kids learning the transition of becoming able to make money on their name. And I'm okay with that. That's, like I said, it's been fun. It's been a little bit of a challenge, but my roster is filling, and I'm having a lot of kids that are actively wanting innings. And, like I've told you, kind of that's my focus. There are 100,000 junior colleges out there with kids that are, numbered, maybe they're numbered 10 through 20 on their roster right now. They're not in the starting 9, but they're itching to be there next year, right? There's got to be 50 junior colleges out there with 5 guys that are ready to play. Hey, coach, I need to play because I didn't play in the spring, and I'm a freshman going into my sophomore year. If I fall behind again, there's going to be a freshman coming up behind me. And that thought process, it just doesn't seem like it's in these kids' minds. But that kind of entails and leads into what is my most shocking so far, which is these college coaches now. I have been flabbergasted with some of the interactions I've had with them regarding me just looking to give their kids opportunity. When I was at the junior college level, what I was blessed with was coaches that cared about my development, not only on the field, but as a person. And I think that there's a massive disconnect in that now. I think that coaches are very, very central focused on their job. And I think that these kids are there for 10 months. But after that, if you want to go swing at weighted balls now, there's a drive line program. If you want to go run and pull them down and throw them into a net, there's a program, right? So these coaches are saying, hey, if it's not the Northwoods or the Cape, we don't care. And if your coach isn't placing you there, right, or a coach isn't placing you at all, and a coach is reaching out, now it's time to, we gotta get going at some point. That's my biggest shocker so far, is that these coaches don't seem to be placing players any longer. I've reached out to a handful, probably 10, 15 coaches, and I'm hearing less traction from them than players on their roster that are adamant to be filled. And that to me just doesn't make much sense. That's something where I always thought, my coaches placed me, at every level that I played, every school I played at, because my parents were focused on that. That's something that was talked about. It doesn't seem like with this whole transfer portal that's the forethought any longer. And that's what's shocking to me. It's almost as if these coaches are saying, if you're not going to the Cape or if you're not going to the Northwoods, that summer ball isn't important. And that's shocking.
I think it's mostly because they're scared. The transfer portal is a scary place. I mean, they go get seen in a different league. You have coaches shutting players down to play in national tournaments, to play in the end of league tournaments because, you need to be ready for the fall. Psych, that is more of a selfish move on the coach because he's scared to lose his player because they're going to be seen. From the KCLB level, we're one of the most scouted leagues in the state of Kansas. our baseball is very competitive, and then we play an end of league tournament, and then in a national tournament, the Summer Ball Showdown. So again, yeah, the transition's there, and these programs are there because now we're all statistics driven, and but live action is live action, and you can't substitute it.
That's exactly where I stand. You can't emulate live action games, right? If you've got 31 games on a schedule, that's 360 innings, right? That's opportunity, right? There's kids that are not playing every day at the junior college, at the NAI, at the Division II level, right? That need innings to promote themselves. And that's why, for me, that's what I'm trying to give as a platform. Like you're saying, with us being highly recruited, this should be an avenue for opportunity, right? For Midwest coaches. What this should be is a springboard, is what I like to define it as, right?
Yeah.
What I'm looking to do is give our junior colleges in the area, in combination with our divisions and universities, the opportunity to say, hey, this coach here at Park City is not with any college specifically. Right. I have a 9 to 5. I don't work at a university. I don't have any specifics. I'm not scalping your players. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is giving your junior college and your kids at the university level an opportunity to introduce themselves to other coaches at the 4-year level. Right. So now it looks like, hey, you're at the 4-year level, and I've got a sprinkle of 3 or 4 or 5 young guys that I want to come and develop. And now they're getting around potential teammates in the future. Right. And now we've got a junior college kid in between his freshman and sophomore year going back to his junior college, and then potentially moving on to one of these universities here. And that's my end goal, right? That's how it used to flux. That's the fluency of what summer ball was when I was playing, right? My opportunities came and presented themselves for me to further my opportunity for a 4-year. I played for the Wellington Heat and then went to Friends University in relation to that, right? That is a springboard opportunity for me to come from the West Coast, right? Introduce myself into the Midwest. I met the love of my life here, So for me, it was life-changing opportunity that I would love to.
thing, by the way.
It is a
It's
KCLB
a KCLB
thing.
thing,
It's
by the
so
way.
different.
So
Yes, right. I want to give further players that opportunity, right? And the West Coast is a very high-stress area. The cost of living is tough. The job opportunities are tough. The market is different. I look far more reputable here, right? I.e., I own a home. I've got a job. My wife is, fortunately enough, she's at home every day with my children, right? And we are not in a stressful situation, right? I get to come out and coach baseball again because I love it at a very young age, right? And these opportunities are present in this country. Very hard to see that on the West Coast when you're so used to living or trying to live this fast, exotic life. Some of these kids don't want that. I didn't want that. I lived in a house where my parents had a couple jobs all the time, and we were always on the go. We didn't really sit down for dinner. We didn't do those things. We were on and it made us driven and focused, and I'm super thankful for that. But at the end of the day, I want my children to know that they can come home. I want my children to know, if we're under this roof. First, we're going to sit down at dinner every night. That's important to me, and I found that in the Midwest, something that was very different than over there. So I just think, I think the piggyback and the opportunity to come out this way is just awesome for kids.
I love it, man. Shout out the Midwest.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Midwest.
Shout out.
KCLB
You're making us
just
feel-
moving people here.
You're just
and,
making us feel good, man. This is a good little.
Hey, and we
I'm telling
do eat good. We do eat
You do
good.
eat- you
Hopefully,
do eat- you
hopefully-
just eat
hopefully
better,
you get to
right?
like 160, bro.
I'm trying, man. Let me tell you what. Let me tell you
It's not bulk.
what. I've been
It's
working on it. Yeah. Now that I got my mother and father-in-laws cooking more often, I've been putting on some lbs. Don't you worry about
Hey,
that.
there we go. There we go.
I love it. Well, you hit it on some very important points and very well spoken as well too. It is crazy. I mean, summer ball, the way that we all, I guess, were a part of it. That portion of things took a weird turn, and I think there was a lot of reasons behind it. And number one, I think that there was a lot of watered down leagues in a lot of places, right? And that's part of stuff that we can't control. Right. There's guys out there that start these leagues for the wrong reasons. They do it from a selfish background. They are trying to make a quick buck, right? Like there's a lot of them that I have watched, right? Start and stop in the matter of a year, 2 years, and just completely go by the wayside. And that's all across the country, not just around here, but just everywhere. So you get these things mixed in, and then you add the transfer portal portion of things inside of it, right? And the transfer portal is, for players, in my opinion, a good opportunity to a certain extent, right? I also believe in, dealing with adversity by, getting better at the things that you're struggling with. not just running away from those things. So I think it can be an enabler. I think that the transfer portal is something that can enable kids to think like, oh, well, if this doesn't work, just go somewhere else. And if this doesn't work, just go somewhere else, right? That's the dark side of it, I guess. But the positive side of it is it does provide opportunity for guys. And, there is certain universities, and like anything, I think that there's pieces of this where it was founded and why it did it in the beginning with a little bit of oversight and not paying attention to how people are going to take advantage of things, right? And I think that's what's happened with the portal is it's every single day I see people that are entering the portal, doing this, doing that with no thought in mind whatsoever. They're just doing it because it's another thing that they can put on their X account and get excited about and talk about. And they're looking for this social gratification from it. And they're not really thinking about their future in the process. And so where does that spill down to us, in summer ball? Well, the big thing that's happened, and this, I think it goes across all the leagues, minus maybe the Cape. I think the Cape is probably the most renowned league that's in summer baseball. The Northwoods is obviously another popular one amongst players, but the reason that the Northwoods is popular amongst players, and this is nothing against the Northwoods at all, I think that for the most part, they have a really good product. They do a lot of good things, but the difference is they're housing way more people on their rosters, right? Their rosters are massive. So what they do is they turn and burn these players through the summertime, right? You can go there for 7 days, you can go there for 5 days, you can go there for 10 days, right? Don't get me wrong, they have some of their preferred players that are there for them the entire summer, but they've taken more of a mass approach to the recruiting, right? So they're recruiting a ton of different guys. Most of them don't even really contribute to the roster, right? They're just there to be the backups to the backups and be a part of that. So that way they have enough bodies to essentially withstand their entirety of their season, because they play probably the longest season for collegiate summer ball, right? Like they go into August, like middle of August that they're playing, which is why there's a lot of West Coast kids that end up in that league, because they don't start playing school ball until September. Exactly what you said. Most Midwest guys don't even know that, right? They don't even understand that there's a different starting point for different schools across the country unless they're involved with those schools, right? So this ties back into this transfer portal problem, because now you have all of these different things that have popped up all over the place. And these players, they're kind of sitting there looking at all of the different opportunities that are out there. They're not thinking about future moves. They're not really thinking it through. Well, then you have coaches that go, well, like Dave said, if I start sending guys out here and they start to get eyes on them, how do I know that they're going to come back, right? Because it used to just be back in the day. I mean, call it a gentleman's rule, call it whatever you want to call it. There was loyalty to the programs, but then also like we care. And I still think that there's pieces that these coaches care, but it's such a, it's a ruthless thing. Like it's as soon as they get a better opportunity, it's like, boom, they're out of there and they're moving on to something else. On one hand, you can't fault the player, but on the other hand, you start looking at these college programs, and what I have noticed, and this is just me talking to coaches and kind of seeing different things, what I've noticed is that they're not, really nurturing their college experiences, right? They're not really enriching why these guys would want to stay there and want to play there, right? And I think a good example of that, it's outside of baseball, but Nebraska football, right? When you see Matt Rule come out and talk about their culture, talk about the things that the players get, talk about all of that stuff, he's very open and adamant about it. He's like, if you can't buy into what it is that we have here, then we don't want you. Like, it is what it is. Like, you can go do your thing, go do whatever. Like, we'll find the people that we want to have here. And, there's... Huh?
Nebraska sucks, dude.
but he's on the right track, right? Like he wants the people that want to be there, and he wants to try and make those relationships the priority for what they're trying to do. Now, granted, it's a big program, a lot of money, a lot of stuff. So it's just, there's a lot that goes into trying to build that. And I think that, especially with the schools and the levels that we're talking about, there's just not that they don't care about it like that. Like it just feels that way anyway. I can't speak for them exactly, but what I have noticed is that these college baseball coaches, they care about their program and only their program, which in one hand you can understand that. But then the problem is it's so laser focused on just their job security, right? It's not about developing the kids as much anymore because exactly what you said, right? If this kid's not good enough, I'll just go shop the portal and buy a new one, right? Like I'll just buy a new shortstop. I'll buy a new center fielder, right? Like I'll just find one and then I'll offer him a little bit more, buy the new guy, right? And then this
Precisely.
guy goes by the wayside. And
Yeah.
so it's just this, I mean, it's a Wild West world out there. Like
Yeah.
it really is trying to navigate that. I think with the KCLB, to speak on us, you know, we have developed our program to where it's like, hey, we are not associated with any universities across the country, right? Like our head coaches, the guys that are calling the shots for these teams, they're all independent, normal baseball guys, right? Like they're not trying to funnel kids in any direction. You know, the only thing that we're trying to do is we're trying to take the, you know, the respect of our relationships with college coaches into account. And we're trying to do the things that they're asking us to do, right? If they want us to help this kid go somewhere, they want us to develop this kid, they want us to do this, give us the info, like tell us what it is, and we will make sure that we're going to do it. But if you just throw them out like they're trash, like what do you expect to happen? You know, like it's just, like I said, it's just perfect storm for a lot of moving parts, really, is what it comes down to.
Right. I mean, the end all be all goal for us in Park City, for me, is just to have the coaches, like you're saying, say, hey, coach, you know, I got a guy, he needs 25 innings, right? He pitches for me out of the bullpen. Hey, this guy's a starter, right? Hey, this guy plays third base. I'm going to put him in right field next year. Can you get him some innings, right? Now we're just an open line of communication. You keep your eyes on us. We have live streams at the games. It's not like we're not giving the kids and the coaches the opportunity to see the development in front of them. And that's why I'm so adamant that this opportunity is there, right? And that's why I'm so, you know, my biggest shocker, you know, the backing track a little bit to the recruiting process. But I'm like, hey, coaches, what else is it that you're wanting?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What else is it? Like, I truly don't understand, right? You have eyes on them. You can put them on an inning count. You can do what you want with them, right? Why is it that this isn't an opportunity for us to work together, right? Hey, coach, I'm at a 4-year, or hey, coach, I'm at a 2-year, and I'm looking for some transfer kids. Do you have anybody? And then I can talk to him, right? Hey, these are the guys that I saw. You know, hey, I'm in the KCLB. We give to get. You know, this is a mutual respect thing across the country. If you need us, we want to help you. And then there's not just me, but like you're saying, there's 7 of us, right? There's avenues everywhere, and we all have different connections. It's like a spider web.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we trying to cut it off and not let it just connect across the country? That's the part to me. Like, it could be so smooth and easy for everybody involved. It's just we're making it tough based on like an ego thing, job security thing, we think we're better than we are thing. And that's the part to me that I'm like, man, that's why, you know, I stepped away from baseball when this transition was happening. You know, I found this to be one of the hardest challenges for me. You know, I'm, like I've said a couple times now, I'm not the prototypical recruit anymore. I don't even think I would make my junior college roster today based on how good I was back then, just based on my credentials and size. It's not what people are looking for anymore. And that's another, you know, another focal point that we need to think about. You know, we can all go through the perfect game list together. We don't even need to pull it up. We can do it right here. If you're 18 years old, right, you're 6'4", 175, 185 to 215 pounds. That's the top 100 guys. If you do not fit that credential anymore, you're not a top 100 prospect anymore in our sport. And unfortunately, that's just what it's become. Our adaptation at the next level, the correlation actually to what it is that the big league coaches have bought into Driveline. So they're telling these guys, we need you to be 6'3", 210 pounds. You need to be a 1% athlete. We'll teach you the rest. We have statistics. We have analytics. We will do the rest. That's our job as coaches. So for the rest of the country, right, and the reality that these coaches aren't telling their players is, if you are not 6 foot, 200 pounds, you're not going to be a big leaguer. And that's a very hard reality to swallow, right? That's a very hard thing to tell kids, especially when this is their dream. But if they want to start to operate like a business, it's time for us as coaches to treat them like a business, which is telling them the realities, right? Hey, buddy, you're 5'8", 135 pounds. I don't mean to be rude. We can get you a degree, right? There is opportunity anywhere in the country if you truly want to play baseball. But there's a difference between wanting to play baseball and wanting to wear gear. And that's something that I've focused on a lot in my playing career. I was privileged, very, very fortunate to play at Central, around 30 draft picks in 2 years. I didn't have a guy in the starting roster not go Division I besides me. And the reason I didn't go is because they were offering me 20% and 25%. And hey, we want you to be a preferred walk-on. All because of my size and stature, not because of my stats. I had roommates that didn't play as much as me get better offers just based on what they look like compared to me. And so I learned the game from a business aspect very young because I was very fortunate, right? It's something that's hard realities, but those realities need to be taught. And being a young guy that, is fortunate to be in this position, I want to give these kids that reality. Hey, this is what I project you to be. This is how I can springboard you to there. There is opportunity. And that's what I'm seeing in this recruiting process, is there are kids that love this game and want to play. They're reaching out. They've got deposits in. Their families are reaching out to me. They're excited. And then there's the kids that want to wear cool uniforms. They want to go to Ole Miss to say, Mommy and Daddy, look what I did. Right? And that's okay too. And I get that. I played around kids that went to Oregon because they wanted to wear the Oregon uniform, not to ever play. And that's cool. You can get a degree from there. I'm in. I just need to know that transparency. We all need to come together and align what the kid actually wants to do. Right? Because if your work ethic and your talent, like they say all the time, Saban says it the best, there's 5 levels to this. If you want to get to elite starts off the field, right? We find that out in how you respond in a text message, what time you're up in the morning, right? Your routines and disciplines in classroom. You don't want to do it? Well, fine, then let's get you through it. Not we're going to pout about it, right? We can tell that early. So finding that, and I don't know why the coaches now at the college level aren't telling these kids and being transparent with them early enough. Hey, this is your size and stature. This is where we're going to be. Let's get you projected and get you to places where we can put you in good opportunity. That's where, the disconnect, what I'm seeing a lot of is the transparency, right? Why are we not telling that if we're going to, if they want to be NIL business XYZ, then why are we as coaches not treating them in that fashion?
Yeah. Well, they're not being honest with them because they don't want them to leave. I mean, that
Precisely.
ultimately is what it boils down to. They don't want to tell them those hard truths because as soon as they tell them the hard truths, where do you think they're going? They're going right into the portal and just begging somebody else to take a chance. And
I saw a cool stat the other day.
Yeah.
45% of transfer portals at the Division I level do not re-sign at the Division I level. And that's in all sports. So if you can imagine that you have the percentage of kids we see, like you're saying on X, we've entered the portal, 45% of those kids don't get another opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Simply because they're putting that out there. They are entering the portal, right? Coaches don't coaches don't like that.
Yep.
Right? If you want to go, perfect, let's get you out of here early, right? We need guys that are buying into this for the next X amount of years, right? If you're a JUCO, you're 2 years, right? That's your 2-year focal point. Unless you're a power JUCO and now you're getting guys out the door to the draft in 1 year. Right? And that's a very simple, and it's insane to me that everyone thinks like a business, yet we're kind of operating in this weird, it's still a game. It's not a game. It's fun. It's not fun. That's the difference in reality. I've got kids on the phone for recruiting and they're like, Coach, I haven't even thought about what I'm going to eat tomorrow for breakfast. You think I know what I'm going to do for summer ball? And I'm like, oh, okay, so you play the game. I love the game. It's super fun. I don't really care that much. And I'm like, awesome, dude. That is sweet. I love it, actually. At least you know where you stand.
Yeah,
Other than these other kids. Yeah, and I love, hey, Coach, I'm looking for a job in the summer. Heck yeah. Can we work you into my schedule around it? Would you come out here and do some stuff at the golf course? You want to come work in logistics? You want to sit at my desk? I could need an intern, If you are transparent with me, we can springboard you. If we're all sitting in our heads expecting or questioning or assuming something's happening and we're not having transparent conversations, we just get stuck in the rut. We're not moving anywhere. And that's what I've seen in a lot of this is either kids are super proactive, coaches aren't, or vice versa. Junior college coaches are posting all over the place. I need my kids to go. And then the players are timid or they don't want to go to this certain place because it's not Nashville, Tennessee, or LA or XYZ,
I love it, dude. Yeah, you're hitting it right on the head as far as the recruiting is concerned. I think that hopefully there's somebody that listens to that and just it's kind of a smack in the face, listen,
a little mind blown.
Pay attention, take advantage of opportunities, in the lifetime of the opportunity. I learned that very young. You have to be willing to take advantage of it. And if you don't, things are going to pass you by and they're going to just fly right by you because none of this is slowing down. So, adapt or die, keep moving with it and, find ways around it. But I wanted to ask, so you're living in Park City, right? So like you're staying there. We talked a little bit at the beginning of, we are, the team is, Park City Rangers, but we technically don't play in Park City currently, which is always kind of a challenge, right, with the city. The city of Park City supports the team. We appreciate them and we appreciate their, support and them helping us along the way because without it, it would make everything way, way harder. So we do appreciate that, but our ultimate goal is to eventually be playing in Park City at some point in time. For those of you that might be listening or don't know, they're working on building some baseball fields out there. I don't know when or if that will ever get done. Not sure. There's just a lot of moving parts that thing is going through. So we're hopeful that it happens. But what are some of your plans for the city of Park City? Right? What are some things that you're kind of running
Yep.
through your head that you want to do in Park City? So we can share this with people and they can hear from you directly.
Yeah, like I said, I think community involvement is huge. It's something that I kind of fell in love with here when I came and played in that big tournament when I played for the Wellington Heat. I think that there's a lot of good baseball tradition here. That field, Lawrence Dumont has a very, very long culture, a long, very well established reputation. And with that, I think that there's a lot of the older generation still here that misses and values that. I want to connect with them. I want there to be more involvement in city events. I'm trying to host more meet and greets, more time together with myself. My goal is to promote and be more internal with them, right? I want to be more actively face to face with my community. My family, my wife, my kids, we've already been to the trunk or treat and that was awesome. We did that at the city hall and that was a great event to start. But my goal really is to get the businesses involved with not only sponsorships, but with like game events, right? I want there to be business nights where we can start to promote, Pratt Industries is a huge company. I work in logistics as well, kind of a hand in hand twofold of what we do just as a whole, right? I would like to have them come out, have game nights where their team and their businesses are involved with us because my players, with this name, image and likeness thing, there is a springboard opportunity there too. So for our community involved businesses, for the smaller mom and pop shops, I've got kids that are coming from the West Coast, kids that are coming from the East Coast, thanks to, Coach Trey Harris out at Allen Community College. He's my assistant now. And what we're looking to do is to get our kids, involved with your guys' businesses too, so that when they go back to their schools, maybe there's more opportunity around the country for your businesses to partner with Future and other places. Me working in logistics and supply chain, I connect across the country daily. Before I came in here, I was moving freight from Colorado down to New Mexico and then from, you know, Kansas City, Kansas, all the way over to the East Coast in Ohio. So for me, it's connecting these opportunities and trying to puzzle piece, like I said earlier, kind of like a spider web of how the community can get involved with being at the field and being present more. That's my real goal. Is I want there to be an uptick in people there, an uptick in the community involvement on our social medias. That way, they feel like they're involved. We want them to be included. After I left playing in the NBC tournament, and the transition was beginning in the first couple years, I saw, just a disconnect of how many people were routinely coming. And so for me, my goal is to increase that network, right? I want more fans in the seats. I want the social medias to kind of be in congruence with them. I want more active fan involvement. So that way it's just more fun, more involvement for everybody that, the young kids. My real goal is in the next, maybe not this first year as I'm just trying to establish myself, but I know we do run camps in the Park City area, right? Connecting my college boys to the youth development here in the city is also extremely important to me. We do have a couple off days, and I think that we should give back. The opportunity for younger kids to see college players from across the country, gives them excitement about the games, for future development. Maybe kids will want to come and play in the KCLB, have them growing up excited, between the ages of 8 and 14, 15, 16. They're coming out, they're getting involved with us. I can't wait to be on your roster when I come to play. that's my, my 5, 7, 8, 10-year plan, is to make it so the community feels like we want everybody at the field, whether I'm in Wichita at Friends University's field, or whether we move to Park City. My fingers are crossed. We move right here into my backyard. I did buy a house in Park City. I love the area. I think it's a little bit outside of downtown. I've spent a lot of time in Wichita and I've loved it. However, I think Park City is up and coming. I think that there's a lot of beautiful development there. There's great neighborhoods. I've got great neighbors, and it's an outskirt of Wichita. We're only as good and as big as we make this community. And then I've said that to every kind of coach I've talked to, every business I've introduced myself to this far, is we're only as good as we give it the ability to be. And so for me, I'm really just hoping that together we can all, work in congruence to just let this thing grow, over the years to come.
So let's talk about the regular season type stuff. 31 games with an all-star game, and then obviously our league tournament leading into the Summer Ball Showdown National Tournament. You've played in the league before, you've coached in the league before. What's some things that you can get the players that might be listening to this excited for?
Yeah, it's consistent competition is what it is. Like I was just saying, it's as good as we make it. And what we're doing currently with our roster is making this league competitive consistently, right? My goal is to roster around 40 guys. And the goal of that is to keep everybody rotated and hot, right? My goal in Park City is that I'm not going to be worried about arm limitations or about inning limitations. I've got 30 games, like I said earlier, 360 innings, where I've got enough guys that I can roster to make it competitive and consistent, right? I want to give everybody the opportunity to play through my first 31, right? And then to springboard us right into what's going on competitively, right? We've got 31 games to get everybody opportunity. And then I've got about 10 of them that are going to be extremely competitive, right? So as you can think about this as a showcase and an opportunity to get your innings in, right? And like I said, it's consistent development around consistent coaches. Dave, you said something earlier about us being in one of the heavier recruited areas. We play at Friends University's field. I've got 15 guys currently that are rostered at the junior college level that are all looking for 4-year opportunities here soon. As I mentioned, I've got a couple degrees and I've played around this area. I'm expecting coaches to be at a lot of our games. So not only is it consistent, competition, but every single day you're going to have eyes on you. And that's all you can really ask for. If you're looking for a degree, you're looking for somewhere, and you've gotten to me in the summer without an offer, without an opportunity, right? Those opportunities will present themselves. I think 31 games is a consistency of not only development for yourself, but it gives you a time to establish your routines and disciplines. Find what works for you as a player and stick to them. When we started this, I said I only got them for 45 days. I can't reinvent their wheel on development. I can't stretch and catch them. I can't teach them that in 45 days. They should already know that. They should have a plan of action that's getting them ready. I'm giving them a platform to say, hey, come and show me that works, right? Prove to your coaches that you guys getting ready in this way is what makes you successful and get you ready to be really competitive at your next, at the next year of your competition. So for me, in this league, and then when we get to the SBS and the national tournament, I mean, there are coaches from all over the country, not only just coaches from the Midwest. I've got coaches coming from Seattle. I got a guy that's coming to stay with me. He sits on the coaching staff with the Snell family. And as we all know, Blake Snell would just, is a Cy Young winner, right? So he's coming out here, right? And they, they kind of, he's all right, right?
Probably
Pretty
knows
average.
a little bit about baseball.
I know.
Right? Yeah, he's going to be staying in my basement come the SBS in that time of the year. So the opportunity is endless here in the Midwest, actually so much so that competitive teams around the country are coming here. They funnel into this location for that time of the year. So
Absolutely.
not only do we have 31 competitive games amongst ourselves, but then we have 10 games on a national level, right? I'm giving you 41 games. That's as many games competitively as the Northwoods gives you. Right, I'm giving you those things as well. So for us, it's about who wants to develop, who wants those innings, who wants to come and prove themselves, and also who doesn't want to sit on a bus for 6 hours a day, who wants to be able to go work in the mornings.
We
if they
have
want.
a bus. If you do, you could just sit on it. We won't start
Yeah, we
it.
can sit on it. I mean, if that's what they want, if you want a packed, turkey sandwich for every meal, if that's what you're that's what you want, the minor league experience. I mean, we can try to make it that, but for me, it's about when I was playing, at least, I've already played a lot of games. I need to play. I need to get myself ready. I need to consistently work out in the mornings and get myself a job, have a great lunch, get myself ready to play that
Wait
evening.
a minute. You trained while you played?
Hold on.
Yeah. Well,
Hold
yeah, I
the
know that's
hold
insane.
the
No.
phone?
Yeah,
You
No.
didn't
we
have to
do
go
that.
for 3 months and train without playing?
No, you can do that. I think with all the time that we have in the day, you guys can actually we can get our workouts in
Oh my,
and play. It's
that's
like it's a best of
it's
both
not
worlds, I
possible.
think.
Maybe even have a part-time job in
It's
there.
not
You
possible.
can
No,
We
watch out,
cannot do
watch
it.
out,
no, I can't
watch
do
out.
anything but
All three is
baseball.
a lot. All
Oh.
three is a lot. Watch out. I'm asking for two. I'm asking for two.
How do you feel about the rivalry, the deeply rooted rivalry between you and the Valley Center Mud Daubers?
The Valley Center Mud Daubers. I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the opportunity to coach and get after it and kind of experience it. When I was here, obviously in the past, I was in Wellington, so there might be new uprooted rivalries that are
There you
coming to
go.
be.
There you go.
Right? And
Well,
so
I mean, there are Wellington players that
Well, the Wellington Park City rivalry is
was
definitely
there.
yeah.
That has
So
always been one.
the I think it's going to be consistent and competitive with everybody, and that's what I'm excited for. I've like we've all said, I've played around these guys, I've coached around
you
these
have to say.
guys, and now it's time for us all to have some fun doing it against each other again. So for me, being a part of here before and coming back, it's just super exciting. It's super super fun, and I can't wait to strap it up, see what we got.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. No, it is cool. Just summer ball obviously is a whole new team, so the rivalries I think it just get
Yeah.
started by us for just for
Yeah.
fun. But
Exactly. Yeah.
it's a good time to just kind
Yeah.
of keep them going and keep them alive. But yeah, man, no, obviously sharing a lot of information and you're going in depth, and I hope people listen to the philosophies behind what you're saying and how passionate you are towards the game, because that's
Mhm.
something that's super refreshing, right? And I think that you're learning that as you're talking to college coaches. It's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy how unpassionate or not passionate there's a lot that you come across, and it's like, man, that's not how I remember baseball, and it's definitely not how I remember my coaching staffs. But it's kind of becoming a common theme with a lot of people that we talk to, and so hopefully this is just a one big step in a good direction
Yeah.
for the players that come in contact with you, for the way that you're willing to help and the way that you're willing to go above and beyond for them, and try to do things for them. I think that that's what a lot of players need: that guidance, that leadership, that counsel.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
makes a big difference in their careers and ultimately in their lives, because
Yeah.
that's, at the end of the day, what, the big picture stuff really kind of boils down to. So I appreciate that, because obviously I was super excited to have you on board, super excited to bring you into the league and, get to know you more. And, it's cool watching, like I said at the beginning of the pod, like the transitions of, you playing to coaching to now being a part
Mhm.
of, my umbrella of things that we got going on. And, so
Yeah.
I think you're going to be great for the team, great for the league, great for the players. It's a great fit, and we're gonna really kind of try to hit the ground running and do some cool things,
Yeah.
and have some fun in the process. But you guys got any other
Absolutely.
questions for Mr. Chartrand?
I'm just really thankful and grateful for the opportunity. My wife's been kicking me in the butt the last 2 years to get back into the game. She said that I'm grumpy. And so she's like, you need to get back to doing what you love. And, this opportunity that presented itself is exactly something that we were looking for. So with our family around, we're excited to have some fun. Like you said, I'm excited to give guidance where I think it's due. I think that us as a whole in the KCLB are very, all on the same mindset of helping these kids grow developmentally, as well as, like you said, in life. That was something that was taught to me. I was really, really, really fortunate to have a great coaching staff at Central Arizona. Anthony Gillich, Joe Perez, Joe Dominic, those guys really taught me, like you're saying, the correlation of baseball to life, right? How baseball, in baseball, we're teaching children to succeed 3 out of 10 times and be okay with that. And I think that that's something that not a lot of kids think about. That is what life is. If you ask any of us on our day to day life, right, we aren't succeeding 9 out of 10 times. We're not at the free throw line. There's a lot of hard things. Waking up every day is mundane, and it's hard to become routine. It's hard to become disciplined, right? That's why we're not asking for perfection, right? And that's the reality of life too. No one's asking you to be perfect. We're asking you to be consistent. We're asking you to communicate. We're asking you to be literally be 300. And as I was taught that, and it changed my perspective on life. Something that it slowed me down, and something that I want to be able to pass on to other generations in this game. Baseball gave me everything. It gave me the opportunity to travel, gave me the opportunity to find my job, my career, my wife, my children. I mean, I owe a lot back to this game, as much as it has changed. And I am, trust me, at 5'5", 140, I don't think I'd have done well with the launch angle experience. But it is what it is. This game is beautiful. It's always changing. It's always evolving. And when you do succeed 3 out of 10 times at the best level, and that makes you a Hall of Famer, it gives room for a lot of opinions. Everybody can be right, unfortunately. And that's how, that's the beauty of this game. Everyone's done it successfully at some point, and that's what's gotten them in their position. I respect it, and I just can't wait to grow within the community of it.
I love it, man. Well, I hope Park City's excited for you, because we're excited for you. Hopefully this can get out to some new ears and some new faces, and people can, kind of put some of those pieces together and reach out, right? Reach out to, at the Park City Rangers, check out their social medias. Andrew's been all over those and putting different things out there. Just shoot a message, if you want to be involved in some way, somehow, and just want to give back to the game and give back to the community. That's what we're all about and what we're doing. So appreciate your time. Thank you for hopping on. I know you're busy, obviously in the middle of the workday, but thanks for hopping on with us.
No, it was a blast. It was a blast.
Awesome, man. Well, we always hand it over to
guys.
Sean. Sean's he closes us out in prayer, so you can stay on or hop off. Totally up to you, but we're going to close it out.
Yeah, I'll stay on.
Again, thank you for your time, man.
Yep.
Lord, thank you for another day, and thank you for another opportunity to sit here and talk to another a guy who's ready to work and serve these kids and give them great opportunities to help and develop along their baseball journey, but also in their journey in life. Thank you just for bringing Andrew back here and his family. It's really cool that he's got good family values here in the Midwest, and wants to kind of spill that over to his coaching experience as well. So just pray that he continues to use his knowledge and his background to continue to help advance these kids' career, both on and off the field, and get them prepared for life and make them good young men and stewards of the game. In your name we pray, Jesus. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Well, guys, that wraps it up for episode 24, Park City Rangers baseball, featuring new head coach Andrew Chartrand. It was a lot. There's a lot to take in on that, and it's awesome. So we will see you guys next time.